lay out some of the basics. Now, some detail I cannot go into and won't go into. If we reach a certain level, I'll say, no, we can't talk about that, and we can go on to another subject. But the basis for this is that I learned how to walk point in Vietnam. So shooting at me does not do a lot of good other than to really upset me for the simple fact that in Vietnam, every time we sat down to eat, we'd get shot at. And scooping your food off of the ground ain't no fun, and it's crunchy, among other things. Really does things to me when somebody shoots at me. So that's not something I recommend. Now,
my father voluntarily enlisted in the Army Reserve and served our country in Vietnam, and was actually one of the only journalists over there reporting on, among other things, the rock and roll movement in Woodstock. So he was sort of like one of the Good Morning Vietnam people. And he did get PTSD, and I had kind of a rough childhood because, in a way, it was like having a drill sergeant for a father. And that's sort of the aftermath of how Vietnam has impacted me. I just turned 39 years old, and I have every degree of respect and admiration for your service, and I thank you for serving this country.
You're very welcome. The basis of this is twofold. Learned how to walk point. Now my goodies are above the radar, so I got put out in the open for two reasons. One, I felt it my patriotic duty to try to inform the people as to what is really going on so that they don't have to listen to a bunch of idiots on the internet spouting off whatever kind of imaginary stuff they come up with. People do not need to listen to those bad dreams. That's primarily what they are. Most of it is propaganda, and most people don't know what the word propaganda means. In Spanish, they put it on trash cans because that's where it goes. So everybody needs to kind of get their heads wrapped around this. Now,
I call it fear porn.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I coined that term because I believe that people read this and get addicted to it because it physiologically stimulates you in the same way that sexual material does. It actually makes your heart rate go up, your breathing rate goes up. You get a high off of being terrified. And unfortunately, the powers that were, as I like to call them, have very effectively manipulated that human response so that you have entire outlets of alternative news that, as you just said, have built themselves and have profited extensively off of the undeniably pessimistic view that they keep having. And it's almost impossible to listen to them because they just, when folks like you get on there who have a positive message, you just come against this incredible wall of negativity and fear and just absolute denial that anything good could be coming out of all this stuff that's going on in the world. And I do believe that good people have seen what's going on, and they're rising up, and they're not going to take it anymore.
Well, that pretty much sums it up. Now, I'm going to reiterate this again. Do your own research and homework. It's not the responsibility of somebody to teach you the basic English language in order to read a website. Most people have the capability, they just refuse to do so and would rather go off in gaga land in front of the TV or play a video game, or they're busy texting their friends and playing with themselves. The ideology is this: we're coming up against the wall. Now, most people, and I don't care who reads this, most people with any kind of common sense at all knows that there are some real serious things going on in the economy. The lack of jobs, the amount of foreclosures, the separation of families because of economic problems. Okay, these are some of the basis of the fear that these people who originated live on. Now, I want to lay the basic of how I found this, and it was an accident, quite honestly. Okay. I've been studying and been involved in freedom movements and all that stuff for years. I've tried in every way, shape, or form to get somebody to get up off the couch, put the beer down, get up off the couch, and do a little something. Go talk to the neighbor, anything. And
yeah, but what if it's really good beer?
Well, yeah, but the problem is you sit on the couch and all you do is you consume the beer and you yak about stuff that doesn't necessarily mean anything. You probably would have a good conversation, but most people are talking, ooh, look at that guy shoot that ball at the hoop or whatever. And I'm going to tell you, that's superficial. That's one of the distractions. Just like texting, just like a lot of phone conversation. And the things that do not stay on target. Now, within all this, I've also studied a lot of what's called freedom efforts. This includes freedom philosophers and their type. This man got on a radio show and was spouting off all kind of halfway measures that would primarily and basically get somebody put in jail if they did them. Well, because of my...
You're saying people grabbing their guns and just, now is it, you got to go out there and start shooting?
No, this was even more basic than that. This was like being able to argue a traffic ticket out of court.
Oh, right.
Real simple stuff. Well, the only problem is that you can get up to 6 months for playing games with the judge if you do not know how to do this. And this guy was leaving out critical information that would guarantee almost that you got the 6 months because you were giving the finger to the judge. You don't. There's some things you do not do.
Yeah.
So the guy basically had upset me. Now, the basis that goes...
Well, you don't want to get a Vietnam vet grumpy. That can be a big problem.
Well, yeah, but the deal was this, okay? I needed to know. And everybody had told me you can't do this and you can't do that. Okay, and then you have things like the Texas Freedom School or Freedom School of Texas, I forget which it is, that does have some good information, but it is kind of fragmented. Okay. And some of it is not complete, even though people would like you to think they are. But for $9.95, you can get the book that explains it all just right. Well, I'm not willing to pay for freedom. That's not what it says anywhere about freedom at all, as far as I can find it. So I decided to do my own research and my own homework. And I had looked at this stuff. I tried to get people up off the couch, and that didn't work. So I didn't have much to do except do the research. I started looking at the basis of law, where it comes from. I'm talking about way back in the woods of history. Some of the places I went required me to have anything that I was intending to copy or borrow a copy of electronically approved before they would release it. Okay, some of this stuff is not for consumption by the general public, and they make sure of that. Well, after 2.5 years, I figured out pretty much basically what everything said, how it was started.
Can an ordinary civilian gain access to these documents, or was this because you had some sort of classified access?
No, anybody that, it depends on whether or not you're as nasty as a junkyard dog and tenacious as a bulldog and refuse to take no for an answer, and you bother somebody until they decide to allow you to do something simply because they don't want to fool with you anymore.
I gotcha.
That basically does research, and it covers all of it. Those people who won't listen eventually do when you get a hold of them every day. Right. When you send them 50 emails a day, one every minute or something, it bugs them enough. It's like Mom. When you used to only get something from Mom, if you bug her enough, she'll say, "Go ahead and do it, leave me alone." And that works. Okay, so the song, I believe, was You Get Your Way by Insisting. Okay, I insisted, so I got the information. I studied this over about 2.5 years, and believe me, it is intricate. It is extraordinary in terms of what it told me was a simplistic, basic way to step outside of the normal controls of what people consider as laws. You have limitations, supposedly, between a citizen of one country and a citizen of another. Those two legally are supposedly separated. That's not quite true. Little things of that nature were what I was after to learn. So I studied this stuff for about 2.5 years, and I finally took a break from it because my head was beginning to hurt. And I decided to, listen to a little radio and play a little card, listen to a little internet radio, and play a little cards on the machine. And lo and behold, here comes this friggin' idiot. He's one of these freedom philosophers. And this is somebody that thinks they know what they're doing. When they are missing several critical points, they will get your butt put in jail. But they want you to try it. Oh, I've done this. Yeah, right.
This is the guy that would teach you how to beat a traffic ticket, but you could go to jail for 6 months?
Yeah, that sort of thing. Real simple.
Okay.
And if you go about it correctly, it works fine. Okay? But if you don't, you end up actually opposing the judge.
Right.
And that's a big no-no. What you do is you allow the law to oppose the judge. Then the judge has to rule in a succinct manner, plus you're not standing in a landmine field. That is not a nice place to stand, believe me. I've been in one. So, this dink gets on there and decides to mouth off a bunch of stuff, and all he did was almost instantly make me mad. So, I snatched the phone, and I called in, and I said, hey. And he said, hi. And I said, you might be, according to what you just put out, because most of that belongs in the toilet because you're going to get people in trouble. What do you mean? I said, your information is not total. It's not complete, and you're going to get people in trouble by espousing this, by saying that, if you didn't ask, you can get away with it. You can tell the judge what to do. Well, no, that ain't part of this, and you know it. If you don't, I'm giving you a lot more credit than you deserve. So why don't you shut up and listen? Well, about this time, the host of the show comes on and says, hey, come on now, you're going to have to watch it. And I said, hey, look, did you realize that you can be held liable if somebody gets in trouble for what this guy is saying on your show? Really? I said, yeah. Now, you want me to clear this mess up? Yes. So, then the guy comes back with this sovereignty routine. And I got upset for the second time and told him to shut up and listen, and maybe he would learn something, that he might want to learn how to read at the same time. What I basically did was I laid out the primary basis for what is required in order to declare any area. And if you've got an area somewhere in the middle of Timbuktu land, but it's yours, and it's registered in terms of the boundaries, basically, or you have at least real definitive markings so you can tell where it is and what it is and how big it is, you can declare that area sovereign. And by doing so, you actually create your own nation state.
Well, if I declared my toilet a sovereign zone, then I could drop waste into it and be pretty much like the government.
Well, except that you as long as it stays on within your area, yes. Now, by that I mean you should declare the whole yard and use a finger system if you're going to do something of that nature, simply so that you're protected legally.
Right on.
That's what I'm saying. There's little bits of information, and it can get squirrely, and it's a lot of fun to deal with. So I laid this process out. Basically what we did, and the way the process worked, happened, as I said, by accident. While I'm telling this guy how this works, somebody in this great state of Pennsylvania took notes.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't have any idea anybody would even be listening other than to shut this turkey up that didn't know what he was talking about.
Right, so obviously a state itself could be a sovereign zone or declared as such, and those who govern the state could get wind of what you've figured out from your extensive research and implement that research.
Yes.
Wow. That's awesome.
So basically that's what happened in Pennsylvania. The person that took the notes was fairly knowledgeable in the real sovereign legalities and lawfulness, and took that knowledge in combination with what I had put together, got with some other people, and they said, well, yeah, let's see what happens. And so they put together a process of notification, and they sent it off to the International Court of The Hague.
Oh, my God.
And this is the civilian division, as I understand it, or civil division. And they, of course, sent a reply back when they received it that they had received that package. The rest of it was a receipt of the intent of the package. They had made a copy of what they had sent, certified copy of the original, that sort of thing. Now, their package, then, they're sitting on a package there. The Hague's got one in their records.
Right. So now you have a complete paper trail.
Exactly. Now, the crux of this...
This might be sort of like a subpoena where the